everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Kendra Budd, and I am the editor of Working RE Magazine. I'm here today with Paul Rowe of TrueTracts, and he is going to be talking about how to simplify your workflow for hassle-free basic market analysis. Before we get started, this webinar is going to be recorded, so if you want to review everything we go over today, or you need to leave early, or your internet crashes, we will be sending around the recording later this afternoon. And we do also encourage questions here. As we are going along, you'll see a little chat box on your control panel. You can type whatever questions you may have during the webinar, and then at the end, we will answer as many as we can if we have time. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Paul.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hey, everybody. So this is exciting. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Paul Rowe. I'm an appraiser. I've been appraising for about 18 years. I live just outside of Chicago in Park Ridge. And I used to have a firm that was probably a small firm of like 8 to 10 people. Joined True Footage about 4 years ago. And this was kind of the dream the whole time. It was getting to this. It was building software and technology that's going to help appraisers do things better and faster. And so I'm super excited that we are getting really close to that vision. And I want to introduce to you TrueTracts Pro today. And so a lot of you are familiar with the first two tabs of TrueTracts. That's market definition, market analysis. We're taking that a few large steps forward, and we're going to be introducing adjustment support, reconciliation, and some more things. So let's get started here. Let me go to the next slide. Okay, so quick overview. We've gotten awesome reviews from our users of the first TrueTracts, which was just those first two tabs. We've had over 200,000 sessions created in the first 6 months. The average engage time per session, 4 minutes and 35 seconds. You may wonder, like, why are you telling me that? I just want to prove, like, this is based on 200,000 sessions. This is the average amount of time it takes for someone to define their market, create that heat map, figure out where to look for comps, get the market analysis and the time adjustments. We could build you the best tool that you've ever seen, but if it takes you an hour, 2 hours to complete, you guys are never going to want to use it. So this is built with not only deep analytics, but also efficiencies in mind. We've got over 4,000 people have tried TrueTracts, and right now we have about 75% of the US market covered. We are working to expand that all the time, and so we will update you guys as we get closer to that. Okay, so the agenda. So I'm going to quickly talk through the process. Then we're going to go into a live demo. I'll go start to finish through a session. I'm going to focus mostly on the new stuff. I will show you guys the existing stuff because a lot of you guys maybe haven't seen that. And then we're going to talk about pricing. Hang on one second. Okay, and then I also just want to say, like, I'm in Vegas right now. We were out here for Val Expo, and we've been doing demos all week. I gave a presentation to a bunch of appraisers on this, and people have been going, all the other software providers are here as well. And the consistent feedback we've gotten of people coming to our booth is that TrueTracts Pro is so far ahead of what anybody else is doing from an analytics perspective that it's not even close. And so I'm super excited to get you guys using this because I truly believe this is the best solution on the market. And so let's walk through why I think that. So we start with, we're going to build a strong foundation with the market definition tab. So you're going to define the market in a data-driven way. You're going to build this large curated data set of competing properties that's going to be extremely valuable to figure out time adjustments, but also feature adjustments. The GAM model that we use is awesome, but it is very data hungry. And so it wants a lot of data. And so we've provided a way in this first tab to not only help you get that data, but get like good relevant data. This heat map could help you look for comps. It's going to provide transparency in your process to your clients, and it's going to provide support for all of the decisions you make. I guess I have to click, I can't arrow. Okay, here we go. So you define that market, then you move on, and then you're going to analyze that data set that you just created. And so just focusing on the sale price trend, there is so much going into this. We're using GAM, which is a generalized additive method. We're plotting adjusted sale prices, not raw sale prices. We are using pending sales at the end here at the most recent period to increase visibility in that most recent trend. We're using GAM to fit a smooth yet flexible curve through the data. So many of you guys who have used Spark or other tools out there, you upload maybe too small of a data set and you end up with your market trends going all over the place. And it goes up and it goes down, or it indicates 30% up. And so you guys like, what's going on here? It shouldn't do that. If you give it enough data, you won't see those crazy spikes. You will see curves because this is a nonlinear model and we want that, but it's going to find the appropriate amount of wiggliness to kind of fit through the data. And then we're going to automatically apply those time adjustments to your comps. Then you're going to move, you're going to go to your MLS, you're going to pick your comps. You're going to export, you're going to click a button in TrueTracts that is going to open up a Spark tab that is associated with that session. So we have integrated Spark with TrueTracts. We didn't want to spend another 6 to 12 months building Spark functionality into TrueTracts. We figured you guys would rather have this sooner. So we built an integration instead that only took about a month. So this integration is very seamless. You click a button in TrueTracts, it opens your Spark session, you drop your comps in, you clean them up the way you normally do in Spark. If you want to do the cost approach, you can do that there as well. And then you just hit another button and it's going to export it right back into TrueTracts. And all that data is going to be cleaned in UAD format, filled out the way that you want it. And keep in mind, Spark, $69 unlimited per month. That is included in your TrueTracts Pro subscription at no additional cost. Then you're going to move to feature adjustments. So we're going to analyze and reconcile feature adjustments using 4 orthogonal methods. Our data scientists will attest to this, but orthogonal is one of my new favorite words. I heard it on the All In podcast. Anybody that's a fan of that podcast, if not, check it out. But Chamath on there talks about orthogonal, and basically what it means is statistically independent. And so if you remember in Synapse has 6 different forms of regression, but they're simple linear regression, and they all are providing a similar perspective to the same problem, using simple linear regression and attributing all of the difference to this one feature. Whereas with GAM, it is looking at big data, it's considering everything at the same time. Peer adjustments, that's going to be real world appraiser decisions after analyzing 12 methods. Depreciated cost, we all know what that is, that's cost minus depreciation. And then sensitivity analysis, this is kind of like the opposite of GAM. GAM is big data, market reaction modeling. Sensitivity analysis is small data, but it's a highly curated data set because it's your 4 to 6 comps in the grid. Adjustment methodologies comparison. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit. I have a training video that we released on our Facebook group, and we are going to put on our YouTube channel. I'll go into more detail there, but this, I think it's important for you guys to really understand what's going on in the background. The more you understand it, I think the more excited you'll get, because all these methods, they work together really well. They're completely different perspectives, but you got to use them in conjunction with each other. So GAM, we talked about that. That's that large data set that's coming from your SS and your CS that you've already created. The strengths, it's going to consider all differences simultaneously, solving for market reaction. So it's not just going, the difference in the sale price here, we're solving for GLA, let's just solve for that, and every difference in sale price is attributed to GLA. This is actually looking at GLA, lot size, baths, basement, all of that simultaneously, and figuring out what the GLA adjustment is, what the lot size adjustment is. Limitation, it can be impacted by omitted variable bias. I won't go into that deep right now, but what that is what are the variables it doesn't know? And in this case, I'll go into an example with baths, but in this case, it doesn't know quality and condition yet. So we just signed a deal with RESB. I am super excited about that because we're going to be integrating quality and condition ratings to these huge data sets, which is going to vastly improve not only the existing features, but we're going to be able to give you guys support, additional support for quality and condition adjustments. So that's coming soon. Peer adjustments. We have over 3.3 million adjustments from Synapse. And these are appraiser reconciled adjustments where appraisers were looking at 12 different methods and indicators in Synapse and reconciling those into an adjustment that makes sense. So these are going to be super valuable. The downside to that is it may be limited in certain markets where we didn't have a lot of Synapse users. Depreciated cost. Strength, simple, intuitive. It's great for easily cured features. Think porch, patio, deck, detached garage. Depreciated cost is a great indicator for those things because you can easily cure those things. Limitation, it may overstate adjustments for over improvements. And so you got to be careful. What we recommend is you cross-validate depreciated cost with one of the other methods, which we make super easy because you're just going to be seeing them all in the same screen. And you look at depreciated costs and you go, is this being validated by any of these other methods? And that can help you prove that it's not an over improvement. Sensitivity, we all know what sensitivity is. We are doing something extra there though. A lot of appraisers are used to sensitivity where you take your low and your high comp and you make the adjustment that narrows that range the most. But in situations where you have all your comps adjusting to 500 to 505 and you have one comp at 550, you don't want the adjustment to just consider that outlier because it may not make sense because that comp's an outlier. So we are using something called MAD, that stands for mean absolute deviation, and it minimizes the outliers. And so that sensitivity analysis, we're even taking that a step higher. Okay, so then we go into reconciliation. This is something that will be easier shown. So I will skip this for now for time, and we will get into this when we get to that screen. And then export, this will also be better shown at the end of the process, but there is a ton of stuff that we're gonna be able to put in your reports for you and in your work file. And we're also gonna be able to fill a lot of the fields out in your report for you. Okay, so now we're gonna switch to a demo. So let me get out of that. Okay, so I have a property here. You click a create a new session. I've entered the address just to save us some time. I've entered in the basic features, the effective date. New thing here, we have quality and condition. So if you rate the quality and condition of the subject right here, we're going to be able to then add depreciated cost adjustments when you choose a comp that is a different quality or condition. And it's also going to improve those indicators on the adjustments tab. So you'll also notice that here we have pluses and minuses. The reason we do that is, you guys know often you have to make an adjustment. You have two comps that are Q3, but they're still different and you have to make an adjustment. The way that we're doing this, rather than have a comp that's a Q4 versus a Q3, well, the depreciated cost adjustment for that might be 50, 75,000. But really that comp may be a Q4 and the subject's a Q3 minus. And so it's really much closer. And if you give us that granularity, the adjustment can have more granularity and maybe it's a $20,000 adjustment and not a $70,000 adjustment. So please rate these up front for quality and condition. Okay, so I'm gonna click save. And now, again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because we already have a video on this and this has been out for about 6 months. So I'm just going to quickly walk through this process of drawing my SS. This is my subject submarket. Now I'm going to be able to add some filters. Now we've created automated filters for you. This is relatively new. We're doing our best job to save you guys some time here. So we're applying filters. We also noticed appraisers weren't applying filters, and that's a problem. This data set is going to be way better. The model is going to train way better and give you better results if you're filtering this. You don't want to filter it too much, but you want it to be competing properties. And so this algorithm that we've created is pretty good 95% of the time. I highly recommend you look at it and tweak it as needed, but we're saving you some time there. Okay, create heat map. This is super cool. I'm very excited about this part because it's training a statistical model on all of the sales that lie within the boundaries that I just drew and the filters that I just applied. So it's got that competing data set and it's trying to learn what is the relationship between features and sale price. Then it's taking what it learned and it's trying to predict the sale price of all of the sales in the neighborhood or in the area over the last 5 years. All of these black dots indicate a sale within the last 5 years that lies within the filters that we applied. So these are similar properties. When it's able to successfully predict that sale price within 3%, this group here, it's going to color it dark green. What does that tell us? That tells us these properties are very similar to the subject. They have similar features that are selling for similar prices. So these we're going to grab in this additional data set to help us analyze and get feature adjustments. When it tries to predict that sale price and it's off by more than 6%, it becomes a blue or a red. Down here, you can see these dots. These were selling it, let's say that it predicted these sale prices, this one at 500,000. Well, if it really sold for like 560, we know that it's selling 13% higher than what we predicted. And so we're gonna color that red. The idea here is if you pulled a comp from here, you adjust it, you put it in your grid, more than likely, it's gonna adjust 13% higher than the rest of the comps. There's something else going on there. And so when you're looking for comps, if I have to expand outside of this subject submarket, you want to stay away from the red and the blue because there's something going on there. Now we have, in this case, we have 268 sales over 5 years. That may be enough to get good time adjustments, good feature adjustments, but maybe not. It's going to get way better if we add in this data. And so you can see here, I'm clicking on CS. CS stands for competing submarket. That's all these other sales that it has found that it's deemed to be similar and competing with the subject. Okay, let's go to the next tab. Now we're going to go analyze that data. We've just created this great data set. We have 200 and some properties in our subject submarket. We have another 1,400 in the competing submarket. And now let's go through this. Again, I don't want to spend a ton of time, so I'll kind of fly through this. This is a 5-year trend. You can see we're using the adjusted sale prices. You can see what that trend line is. The orange dots are the pending sales. This is a 1-year trend of what's going on. We've written the commentary for you. You're in charge of reconciling what you want that to be. Our theory throughout this tool is, by default, let's give them what we think the answer should be to help you, and also as an efficiency method. But we want you to be in control. So if you want this market 2.6% down year over year, you want to say it's stable, feel free. You can absolutely do that. I don't recommend it, but you're in charge. And so these tool tips, I want to point these out, these little eyes throughout. If you're curious as to what's going on, hover over that eye. We'll tell you exactly what's going on right there. You also have the ability to add more commentary. We also have all of these other charts in here. These are going to fill out things in your report. And so we have housing supply, we have days on market, sale to final list price ratio. We're actually adjusting your pending sales in your grid, pending and contingent, based on this. So we know, based on the stats, that properties are selling for 1.2% less than the last list price. So we're going to go ahead and apply a negative 1.2% adjustment to your pending sales. Again, you're in control. If you don't like that, you delete it. But this is very statistically supported, and I recommend using it. This will apply to your listings. This is the original list price to sale price ratio. And so in this case, we would apply a negative 2% adjustment. We have distressed, and when we have seller concessions, we will show those to you when they're reliable. The other method or theory we are using throughout this tool, if we feel like something isn't reliable, we're not going to show it to you if we can prevent that. And so in some markets, you guys will see seller concession data. In some markets, we're not getting good data from the data feed, or we know that concessions contain like agent commissions or something like that. This is just to show you what's going to get filled out in your report. You can see these boxes have been checked. This section's been filled out. If you're curious about this, you can read these notes. It tells you where the data is coming from. We're going to fill out page 2. We're going to fill out this dumb thing. Thank God that's going away. New UAD, there's a lot of things I know we don't like about it, but the fact that this is going to go away is going to make me really happy. Okay, so now let's move on. We have defined our market. We've gathered that data set. We've now analyzed that data set. Now we want to go get some comps. So I'm not going to go through a comp selection process. That's the last thing you guys want to watch right now. So I've done that already. And so I've went to my MLS, I downloaded the comps, exported the comps. Now I'm going to put them into Spark. And you can see when I click that button in TrueTracts, it opened up a session tied to TrueTracts. I didn't have to do anything over here. Now I'm going to add the subject. And there might be people on here that don't know Spark. I think we have over 4,000 people that are using Spark as well. So most of you guys know what's going on here, but just for those who don't, let me just spend a second. It is looking at all that MLS data, but it's also comparing that to public records. And so it's going to show you in red anytime where it's confused or it conflicts MLS data with public records, and you get to choose. There are also hundreds of settings in here. And so I can come in here and I can choose what I want the default to be. If I think public records for lot size is more often the right answer, I can click this, and from now on, it will default to public records. But I implore you to check out all these settings because you can get this to get filled out exactly how you want. So you can change these things. I won't spend a lot of time here. Let me change that. We could look at the rest, but let's move on. So you've imported, you've cleaned up your comps, and you are going to export those. By the way, if you want to do the cost approach as well, you can do the cost approach in Spark, and that will also get exported. Okay, so now read this, but this is basically, we're going to open up an updated session, and it just told me to close the old session. So this is going to refresh my session. It's now downloading all of that data that I just did in Spark. We'll make this a loading. Right now, just be patient. It says it's loading up here. We'll change this interface so that it doesn't show these things. Okay, so now we've successfully imported all of that data. What we want to do here is we want to clean that up further, right? In Spark, you can't edit those fields. You can't type. You choose between MLS and public records, but you can't modify a lot of things in there. And so we're going to give you that opportunity here before we get to adjustments. The idea is you want this grid cleaned up in the way you want it before you move on. And so we're going to finalize that data here. There's a few other things here, but this is just a demo. I won't go into advanced stuff. So I'm going to go through here. Well, let me explain this. You know what? I'll explain that on the reconciliation tab. Okay, so let's, I'm not going to do any cleaning here. But I will show you if you need to. You can click into these photos, by the way, right arrow, and you can go through and you can rate quality and condition if you want. Down arrow to the next comp, right arrow, go through the photos, and you can rate your quality and condition right here. What I do want to point out, let me go back. As an efficiency tool, we have automatically rated your comps the same as the subject for quality and condition. Theoretically, you should be choosing comps that are the same, and so most of the time it will be the same. However, you're always going to want to go in here and make your decisions if these are different. And if you do that now, it's more helpful later on, and so you can adjust these right here, and you can make any changes you need to. By the way, I should also show this. We built in, these are the new UAD definitions, so if you're just need a refresher, they're built right here into the tool. Okay, let me see, is there anything else on this one? No, let's move on. Let's pretend I cleaned all this up. It looks good to go. I'm going to click feature adjustments. This is one of the most exciting parts for me of the tool because it's one of the problems I used to have in my practice was supporting adjustments. So again, we are using those 4 statistically independent methods. GAM, the generalized additive model, which I want to talk about first. So let's focus just on GLA and on this, but just an FYI, we have all the other features coming. So let's just focus on GLA. This is using the GAM model to adjust that entire data set for all of their differences, except for GLA in this case, and it's plotting them on this line. Then it's fitting that smooth yet flexible trend line through the data. And you can see here, this is a non-linear. There is a law of diminishing returns happening in this data set. It looks like as you get over 2,400 square feet, the rate of the adjustment would be significantly less. However, we don't care about anything going on up here. This blue line, this is, since you've told us what your comps are, we know your smallest comp and your largest comp. And so we only care about the rate of change right in here. And so if you're using the linear version, it's gonna, this $100 a square foot, that is the rate of change going from this line, this point to this point. We're also zooming in, and this is just, this bell curve is just another way to see this. This is showing you the 90% credible interval. Those of you who have used the prior TrueTracts on market analysis, we're showing you that green shaded region, which is the 90% credible interval. That just means that if you choose any adjustment within this range, you are really well supported. The model is 90% confident that the true adjustment lies within this green. And we know that if we just give you one number, that's not helpful. We need to be able to give you a little bit of flexibility and a range. We want you to be in charge and get to make those decisions. So that's GAM. Nonlinear, we'll talk about that on a more advanced training because you can switch to that, but the adjustments will be different for every comp based on how big they are. Okay, then we move to peer adjustments. So peer adjustments, we have a whole algorithm here that is sorting through our 3.3 million adjustments that we have from Synapse, and then we are looking for a few things. Let me do a quick side note here because this is a good place to do it. This little thing down here in the right corner, you'll see this throughout the tool. This is an AI chatbot, which is trained on 50 plus pages of data that we've fed it on TrueTracts, and it's trained only on that. And so you just click this and you can ask it whatever question you have. And we're using, I think, chat as an engine in the background, ChatGPT. But you can see here, I said, give me a complete understanding of the peer adjustment algorithm in TrueTracts. And it gave me a detailed answer. And then I said, summarize the main factors considered. And this is what I want to tell you real quick. We're considering geographic proximity, we're considering population density, price similarity, and data availability. The goal here is to find you the closest, most similar adjustments on similar properties in a similar price range. And we've built an algorithm to grab those so that we get those as similar as possible. And then we're displaying, so we have, in this case, you hover over this, they're all coming from the subject's Maricopa County, and there's 107 of them. And so you could see here the distribution. The lowest 10% of appraisers adjusted $63. The highest 90%, 100, and the median was 85. Okay, then we got depreciated costs, sensitivity. So let me walk you through how I would handle this problem. I would look here at GAM. We feel like this is kind of the anchor method. This is theoretically the most statistically supported method. And so you have 93 to 107, but I also want to see what's going on up here. And up here I see, okay, it pretty much aligns with peer. So I love that. These are all toggle, you can toggle on and off. And when you toggle them on and off, the commentary either writes itself or it goes away. So you can see peer adjustments writing itself and going away. So in this case, I think I like peer. I like GAM, I like peer. Depreciated cost is kind of, right in here. And then it comes sensitivity. Now, this is, what is that number that on average is going to narrow that range in the grid the most? And this is indicating to something on the lower end. And so maybe I want to consider that too. And I want to come in at the lower end of GAM and I want to use depreciated cost. And so maybe I come in at $93. And so now I have really 4 methods all supporting this. I have these, it's within range of all 3 of these. And then I'm using this not to say that the adjustment needs to be 65. I'm using that to help me figure out where within all of these other methods should I be. And so that's how I'm using it in this scenario, but it's different for all of them. So let's go down, let's do lot size. So again, you got this situation with this nonlinear curve, but again, we only care about this because my comps are 7,000 to 8,500 square feet in lot size. And so what is that rate of change? It's $2.4 per square foot. That aligns here with peer. So that aligns with what appraisers are doing on similar properties in the same or similar market. Obviously, we can't do depreciated cost on land. And then we have sensitivity analysis, which is saying this should be on the low side. And so maybe I use that to come in and knock this down to $2 because now I'm on the low side of peer, I'm on the lower side of GAM. And so now I'm using sensitivity, I'm using peer, and I'm using GAM to support my adjustment. And I have this awesome commentary written. It's gonna be really hard for me to imagine an underwriter going like, hey, can you explain how you got your lot adjustment, or challenging your lot adjustment? You have so much information here. Okay, bedrooms. We don't need to show you bedrooms because all of the comps have the same bedrooms as the subject. Bathrooms, looks like we have some 2 and some 3 bathrooms, so it's showing that. We have the indicator here is about 15 to 20. That looks like that's a little high compared to peer. It looks like it's pretty much in line with depreciated cost. And then sensitivity is saying, man, you want to be at the low end of that because almost no adjustment would narrow the range the most for bathrooms. And so maybe I want to use GAM. I want to use depreciated cost. I don't need to reference peer on this one because it's outside of that range. And maybe I use sensitivity because that's why I'm going to come in. Another method is why I'm a little bit lower. And I also love using sensitivity because it puts this statement in. And the sensitivity analysis in the sales comparison grid was then used to test and refine the adjustment amounts indicated by the above methods, ensuring the selected adjustment, this is key, reflects market-derived contributory value of the feature. You want to be careful just relying on depreciated cost because what if it's an over improvement? And so when you pair depreciated cost and you validate that with another method, it can be super helpful for support. Okay, and I should say, you're going to see a lot of times this bath adjustment might show in this example, might show $45,000. And you might go, what's going on there? Well, first of all, if it does that, here's the answer. Just toggle it off. If it's unreasonable, get rid of it. But I want to explain to you guys what's going on there so you have intuition. There is, we talked about a little bit, omitted variable bias. Because we don't know quality and condition, when the model GAM is trying to figure out what the bathroom and the lot size and the GLA adjustment is, it's trying to figure out where to attribute these values. And if it doesn't know quality, it may attribute something that should be is a quality difference to one of these features. And what we've learned is there is omitted variable bias between bathrooms and quality. So if you think about this, this will make sense. The larger amount of bathrooms you have in a house that's similar size, typically the higher quality. And so what the model is doing is it's seeing these more bathrooms and it's going, man, you add more bathrooms to this house, it is way more valuable. But really, there's a quality component it doesn't know about. And so this is one of the biggest features we see that play itself out in. But again, within the next, I will under promise within the next month or so, I'm hoping that we have quality and condition built in. Within the next 2 months, I'd be shocked if we don't have it built in by then. Okay, garage spaces, we can see here, again, we don't care about this rate of change. Going from 0 to 1 and 1 to 2, there's a bigger difference, right? And that makes sense. It's starting to flatten out a little bit because once you get above 2, and I love seeing this in the data because it makes sense for an appraiser to get that first garage stall, that second garage stall. Those are the most valuable. Once you get over that, it's not as valuable. So let's look here. We got 9,000 to 15,000-ish. That's kind of aligning here with this. Depreciated cost is a little bit lower on that. And then we have sensitivity, which is saying go to the high end. So I have a choice here. I might go to, let's see here. In this case, I think I'm going to go GAM and sensitivity and come in at 14,000. I want you to know there are some people probably screaming at the screen. There are many ways to do this the right way. There are many right ways to do this, I should say. I don't want to say there are no wrong ways because there are a lot of wrong ways. So the answer of $5,000 is not the right way at all because nothing here indicates $5,000. And that may challenge your intuition because you think garages are always 5,000 in your market. But as I heard from a very smart appraiser I got to meet in person here at this conference, he said something to me that makes a lot of sense. He said, don't fight the data. Like he trains a bunch of appraisers. I think he said he's trained 7 trainees or something, but he talks to them all the time because he uses our tools. And he says, like, when it tells you something, that doesn't mean that's the answer, but don't always fight it, especially when you have multiple indicators saying the same thing. If you think that the garage stalls are 5,000, but you got 3 indicators telling you it's 10, don't fight that. Go with it. You have support for it. Lock that in. Now, if it's telling you 100,000 and you think it's 5,000, that's a different story. Okay, so let's move on here. Pool. This has been really cool. So GAM has been awesome at figuring out a pool adjustment. This nails it in most of the markets we're testing. So we have 25,000 here. That's aligning with peer. Sensitivity says we should be at the high end of that range. And then we can give you depreciated costs, but this is one of those examples where we don't want to get you in trouble. If we give you depreciated costs for this, this might say $75,000. There is things other than physical depreciation that indicate what the depreciated cost should be. There's functional obsolescence. I'm in Chicago. If I spend $75,000 to put a pool in my backyard, I don't know, I'd be lucky to get 10, 20,000 in contributory value for that pool, even if it's new. And so right now, we're not showing you this. We have some ideas of what we could do in the future to allow you to apply your own functional obsolescence percentage to depreciate it even more. But right now, we are just locking that out. Okay, let's see, how are we doing on time? Okay, halfway through. Quality and condition. So we talked about that a couple times. We are going to be building that in, but you guys don't care about the future right now. We want to know, well, what are you going to do for me now? Here's what we're doing. Quality. This comment is going to go in automatically, but if you don't make quality and condition adjustments because all your comps are the same, you just simply delete these. You also can edit any of this stuff. So you can delete it, add to it, whatever you want to do. I feel like this works really well. So when you have a comp that has a different quality than the subject, we're going to automatically show you and apply a depreciated cost adjustment. And then we want you to use sensitivity in the grid to tweak that adjustment. So let's talk about how we would do that, or what we've written here. The adjustment for quality was initially developed using a depreciated cost analysis as a baseline estimate of contributory value. This adjustment was then tested and refined through sensitivity analysis in the sales comparison grid to ensure that it was supported by market data. So again, depreciated cost, you always want to have a test of reasonableness as to what's going on there and make sure it's not an over improvement. And so I'll show you in the grid what this looks like. So same thing for condition, same language, but for condition. And then this is, we are adjusting your actives and your pendings using those list to sale price ratio. And so if you don't have any actives or listings, just delete that and that won't go in. Now we have a bunch of other features we're supporting, but not with this GAM model, because for a variety of reasons that we won't get into right now, but we can explain those on another training. But we have all these other features we can support. So let's say that I want to do an enclosed porch. So I click that, and then what do I get? I get the peer adjustments for closed porch. I get sensitivity analysis coming soon, so we got to tie this to the grid yet. And then we get depreciated cost. So we're using dwelling costs for our cost provider. And rather than have you enter in a bunch of stuff and then us go fetch that adjustment, we're just giving you all the information and letting you choose. And so you can hover over each of these to find out what do these mean, but this is a small enclosed porch, medium. And so if you have a enclosed porch, let's say that's 300 square feet right in the middle, and it's above average, then just pick the adjustment that's like, in this case, what, 10,000 or whatever. You just pick the adjustment in the middle, and that's your depreciated cost adjustment. You can also hover over these. These are straight from dwelling costs. These are the descriptions that they use for these, and you're going to have this on all of those features I just showed you below. And so I can pick peer adjustments, I could pick depreciated cost, but then I need to insert the amount over here that I'm going to reconcile, and then I need to add that number down here. I'm not going to do that right now for time's sake. And then let me delete that. And then you could come over here. What we want you guys to be able to do is when you export, all of your adjustment information is in the same spot. You don't want all these PDFs and explanations and charts, all this awesome stuff, and then somewhere buried in your addendum somewhere, you have your adjustment for REO short sales or whatever that odd adjustment is. So all you're going to do is, if I wanted to provide adjustment for REO and short sales, I type that here. I type whatever method I'm using, the amount I'm adjusting, whatever support I have. I click submit, and you're going to get that titled, and you're going to get that description right here. That will go into your report, and you can do as many of those as you want, and you can do as many of these as you want. I'm not going to go through dwelling or accessory dwelling, but we even have ADU built in. I thought this one was awesome because you put the size of the ADU, you rate the quality, how many baths, how many stories, you hit calculate, and it will give you the indicated adjustment. So love that as well. Okay, so now we got all our adjustments supported. We're going to move on to reconciliation. A lot going on in reconciliation, but this is hopefully going to be super helpful to you guys. So let's discuss full grid view versus analysis mode. So for full grid view, this is going to give you every single field broken out. Once you've cleaned up your grid, why do you care about number of stories? If they're all one story, why do you care about that? You don't. You just want to see the analysis. You want to see the things you care about. So you simply click on analysis mode and all those other fields go away. And now we're just focused on where are the fields where we had adjustments, or where are the fields we just want to see. We want to see days on market, or at least I do when I'm reconciling. I want to see the original sale price. So those things will stay. But everything else you can see, if I click here again, all this yellow stuff goes away and we can see much better. Okay, so you can see up here, we have similarity rating. So we have taken the liberty of rating these comps for you. How did we rate these? We rated these based on their gross adjustment percentage, excluding time adjustments and concessions. We're just focused on down here because this is going to tell you how similar that comp is. This is completely editable by you. We're just trying to save you a little bit of time. And so you can see here, if I rate this lower, right now it's giving 17% weight. If I rate it lower, it's going to get a lot less weight. And so this is going to help you get to your number in a data-driven way. And we're just helping you get a head start by rating those for you. When you're done rating these, if you want your best comp first, you click sort comps, and it will put them in similarity order, which I recommend you doing. When you get here, you're going to want, oh, this is a good time to tell you about this. So control plus or minus on Windows. If I want to see all the comps at once, I'm hitting control minus. If I have bad eyes, I'm hitting control plus. So depending on your monitor screen, remember that control minus and plus works throughout this entire tool to zoom in or out. Sometimes you want to be close or further out on reconciliation, but maybe you want to be in closer on something else. Just know that's available. What else? So we have realtor remarks built in. So if you're trying to figure out what's going on, you can quickly reference the realtor, the agent remarks. We have the photos here again. So maybe I'm looking at this grid and I'm going, All these comps are kind of 430 to 480, but this one's really low. Let me get into this one and let me go through these photos. And maybe I determine, you know what, that one quality-wise is inferior to the subject. And actually, what did I do? I rated that a Q4 plus. Maybe that's a Q4 minus. Well, let's look at what just happened. We just had depreciated cost estimate get put into the grid for us. And so now we've brought that comp up a little bit. We've got an automated adjustment, but what's the commentary say for quality? Commentary says we're gonna start with depreciated costs, but then we're going to fine tune that with sensitivity in the grid. And so if I were to look at the average adjusted sale prices of all the other comps that are in similar condition to the subject, I might determine, you know what, this one's still adjusting low. Maybe this needs to be closer to 35,000 or 40,000. So maybe I do 35,000. You can also see as I'm updating these values, the ratings update and the supported value range updates. Let me finish here before we go to the supported value range though. And as an efficiency, when you click into a comp and you right arrow through the photos, when you down arrow, you go to the next comp. And then you can right arrow through the photos and then you down arrow. So you can quickly get through your comps with just using the arrow keys if you need. Oh, built-in adjustments here. So what we're trying to do is prevent you guys from having to go back a tab at any time. And so we also built adjustment support right in here. You may want to revisit GLA after looking at this grid, and you simply click on GLA and voila, we now have the full adjustment modal for GLA right here in front of our faces. We've also highlighted the GLA line, but we're also showing you the adjusted sale prices because you still need to see those. And this is fully editable. If I want to take off sensitivity, I can. If I want to change this adjustment, I can, and it will apply it automatically and the commentary will change. And if I want to get out of there, I just click it again, I go back out of it. I may want to get into it for bathrooms. I might want to get back out. So we have some of these here you can get right into and you can mess around with those. Thresholds, you guys also are so used to the thresholds, right? So for lot size, we built in an automated 1,000 square foot threshold. You're in complete control of that. That's just a starting place. If you want to knock it down to 500, if you're doing acreage and you want to bump it up, please do. GLA, we're doing 100. Again, doing a small property under 1,000 square feet, you might want to knock that down to 50. Or as Wilfried, our data scientist, would tell you, like, thresholds are kind of dumb. If you have data showing you that there's an adjustment, apply the adjustment. And so best practices per someone who is extremely smart and well studied on data science and all of this stuff, he suggests no thresholds. That's a habit I'm not willing to force you guys to break. So we're going to put that setting in there. Okay, and then if you want, before you go into reconcile, what I would do is come down here and I want to go, you know what, was there any external obsolescence that I missed? And so I'm going to quickly walk through these comps, overhead view, and just make sure there wasn't something I missed prior to exporting. I see here there's something going on. I don't know what this is, and you guys don't want me to investigate it, I don't think. Is this adjusting? No, it's not. So I'm going to ignore that for now. Okay, so now let's go over here. Let's pop into, so I just clicked on the supported value range, this green button, and let's walk through this. So this is how we've done all this hard work. We've defined our market. We've analyzed the market conditions and got our time adjustments. We've got our comps and filtered those down. We've applied adjustments. We've reconciled all of those adjustments in the grid. And now we need a data-driven approach to take those adjusted sale prices and somehow come to a value. I've worked with hundreds of appraisers over the last 10 to 15 years, and I have seen a variety of crazy ways you guys reconcile a grid. I've seen you pick the middle value, and that's your opinion of value. That's actually one of my mentors told me that. You just, whatever she said the second highest. You don't do the highest because you get in trouble. You do the second highest. I've seen people just take a regular average, not a weighted average. So this is a much more, just like everything else in this tool, we're trying to take the statistics to the next level and give you really, really, really good support. So how are we doing that? We are taking your similarity ratings, as you see here. Let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. We're taking your similarity ratings and we are getting a weight percentage. So we're just making a calculation. If you want to know what that is, it is for this comp, it's 10 divided by 10 plus 9 plus 7 plus 8 plus 7 plus 3. This one is 9 divided by, and then add them all up. That gives you this percentage. This percentage is then multiplied times your adjusted list price or sale price. That then gives you this times this, it gives you the weighted contribution. These added up give you 467, which is your most likely value based on the statistics. So this is considering how similar is that comp, what weight did you apply, what was the adjusted sale price. Based on all of that, your value should be 467. But there's a problem with that. We can't be told that this one value is our number because we need flexibility for a variety of reasons, and we need to be able to consider things that haven't been considered yet. And so there are many things, as you guys know, that don't have an adjustment in a grid that still are going to impact value. And so we want to consider those qualitative factors. And so if we walk here, so this is closed by default. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. There's a lot of text here. If I click on this, it's going to drop down. This is going to go in your report. We want to explain all of this for you. But I want to first talk about the uncertainty. So there is uncertainty around this 467. The uncertainty that we've determined is we think that a value of 459 to 474 is within this supported range. And so what we've done is using statistics, using more specifically a Bayesian posterior t-distribution, and then we even cite kind of why we came up with the 50% likelihood. But basically what this says is this is the most probable value, 100%. This is the benchmark. And then if you hover over here, 463, that's got an 82% relative likelihood to this value as being the actual value. And so what we're giving you is anything over a 50% likelihood is within the range of supported values. And in this case, it's 459 to 474. This red line over here, this is your lowest adjusted comp. This is your highest adjusted comp. If you forget some of that, you click the legend, it'll tell you. So does it mean that you can't pick 450 as a value, that you can't pick 480? No, it doesn't mean that. But what it does mean is there's a 16% chance that 480 is the value as a relative likelihood to 466. And so if you're going to pick 480, you got to have a ton of support for why. What are those things that weren't considered in your comps or your adjusted sale prices? So most of the time you're going to want to be in here. What are the reasons you would come in here and move higher or lower? It might be, let's talk about builder sales contract. Let's say you're doing a DR Horton appraisal and there haven't been a lot of sales in the development yet, but there's like 3 pendings and they all point to a value of 474 or 473. Well, if I have 4 bad closed sales from other development, but I got 3 pendings from the same development, I may want to be up here and I may come down here and I might say 473. And there's my final opinion of value. Now, I need to explain that though. I need to come down here and I need to explain why I came in at the upper end of the range. But you got to do that anyway, right? You guys have, when you do reconciliation, you have to tell your story. You got to make sure you explain everything you did and why. We're trying to do as much of that as possible for you guys. All of this stuff here is trying to explain that. We're also trying to explain how we're trying to quantify the uncertainty. So let's talk about this real quick. Appraising a property to a single point value is inherently uncertain because real estate markets are full of variability. We all know that. For instance, one home might sell higher due to superior marketing, while another may get less because the seller was eager to close quickly and didn't negotiate directly. Even if you do the best job possible with adjustments, there are unpredictable factors that can create a range of possible values, making any one number an imperfect estimate at best. We are setting the underwriter, the reader up for understanding that no one value is the perfect value, that we need to choose from a range, but we need to use logic as to why we chose from that range, and we give you the opportunity to do that down here. Now, when you are typing your reconciliation, you need to see the grid behind you. And so what have we done? We click this button. This is going to open up a read-only version of the grid that you can now put on one of your other monitors, and you can look at that grid while you type the commentary. And so just know though that this right now is read-only. You can't make any changes to this popped up version because you don't want 2 sessions having changes done to it at the same time. And so you can look through this and pop it out on your other monitor. Okay, so I put my value in. If you don't put a value in, this won't go into your report. So if you don't like the reconciliation dashboard, well, shame on you first of all, but if you don't like it, you don't have to use it. I highly recommend you use it. But if you don't put a value here, when you do an export, this won't go in. So this is the way you tell it you want to use it. Okay, so I finished that up. I click proceed to export. All right, we're getting low on time, so I got to speed myself up here. I'm not going to go through the full export process, but I want to go over what we've done all this stuff and then what goes out. So market analysis PDF is going to go into your work file, explaining everything about the market analysis. It's got a heat map. You're going to want to move this around and center it and get it however you want it. However you leave it here when you hit export, that's how it's going to look in your report. Again, we're explaining everything to the underwriter. We're putting all the charts in. We're putting the 1004MC stuff in your work file. If you want to check these boxes here, you can. This is a dynamic PDF. If you've got to add commentary, you can add that there. We're providing this definition thing about how we're doing all the calculations. This will go straight into your digital work file. We have the farm list. There's 1,000+ properties in this thing. I'm not going to scroll through the whole thing, but that goes into your work file. Adjustment analysis. We're going through an overview of this process. Please read this. This will help you. It's certainly going to help the underwriter understand. We talk about the generalized additive model, depreciated cost, peer, sensitivity. We want to give your reader everything that they need so they're not asking you about it and so that you don't have to type it. Adjustment support. We have all that in with the commentary. And value reconciliation. And so this will go in as well. If you want the MLS comp photos in your report, click yes. Those will go into your report. If you don't, click no if you already got original comp photos. Then you're going to hit export. It's going to load all of this stuff, which will take a little while. And then you're going to be able to export based on, right now we have an integration with Total, ACI, and Bradford ClickForms. And the tool on the back end knows what form you use, what software you use, because you told it. And so it'll show you that, and you'll click that and then go through that process. Okay, I want to get back here real quick and wrap this thing up. How do I go full screen? Forget full screen, I guess. Okay, so we just went through this whole process. What do? We built a strong foundation. We used the heat map to define our market. We gathered this large curated data set to fuel our time adjustments and feature adjustments. We analyzed that market intelligently. We imported our comps efficiently. We reconciled the adjustments with confidence. We helped tell the story through all the dynamic commentary and the explanations that were generated. And then we closed the loop with smart reconciliation. Reconciliation, adjustments and reconciliation are two of the biggest problems we hear over and over again, that appraisers get in trouble either with the GSEs or their state boards. This should help you with that. Pricing. Okay, so everybody get nervous. It's not the fun part. Just kidding, you guys are gonna love this. Okay, so Spark and Synapse. Today, Spark is $69 a month for unlimited. Synapse is $30 a month for unlimited, for a total of $99 a month. These is what you get with those softwares. With TrueTracts, comp cleaning, same thing. There's not a huge difference there. Adjustment support, we feel, is twice as good. Market analysis, twice as good easily. Market definition, we're getting you the curated data set. We got all the MLS stuff built into the tool. We're giving you the reconciliation dashboard. And so what do we think that is? Same price. So I know you guys are all applauding. I can't hear you, but I'm sure you guys are. Same price as we had before. So I'm super excited about that. I don't know. I guess Mariah can tell me if I should go back to that screen. We had that built for Vegas, but I don't know if I don't think we're still offering that. Okay, coverage and support. So go to TrueTracts.com. We have office hours available. If you're wondering what's going on with office hours, if you have any questions, click on this question mark. You can see the link to office hours right here, and you can see the times we're doing. Looks like Monday through Friday, 12 to 1 Central. And then starting August 20th, we're also going to be doing Wednesdays from 3 to 4 Central. And we might be adding some more times too, based on demand. We want to help you guys as much as possible. I love talking about this, so I'm happy to be jumping on these office hours with you guys and help you understand this, because once you learn it, once you understand it, you're going to love it. Chat, I implore you, please use this chat feature. It is so freaking cool. At least it has been in my testing. So ask it questions, and it's been super helpful for me. So check that out. Always start here. Start with this chat to ask it a question. If you can't get your answer, then you can go ask us. We will have a 1.5 hour training video up by the end of the day on our YouTube channel, and we'll also link it here so you guys can access it, where I'll go into even maybe a little bit more detail than I did today. Let's go back here. Synapse, join our Facebook group. We can help you guys in there as well. And I think that is it for me. Anybody? Okay, I guess we go to questions, right?
Yep, we can go ahead and go to questions now. Do you want me to read them out for you?
Yes, please.
All right, it looks like we have time for one or two. So first question we have is, after comps have been initially selected, maybe 20 potentials, how do I select which ones are analyzed for the actual report, down to 3 to 6 properties? Right now, when I am using Spark as integrated, it appears that only some of those from the data file are included.
I'm sorry, they're asking about how to choose comps? Say that, I'm sorry, you gotta say that again.
Yeah, after comps have been initially selected, maybe 20 potentials, how do I select which ones are analyzed for the actual report?
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So they're selecting 20 comps and they want to know how to get those comps down to 4 to 6?
I believe so.
Okay. I'm guessing the question, we're not understanding it right, because the software as it stands today is not going to help you pick comps. So you're saying you pick 20 and you want to get to 4 to 6, like you're going to pick the 4 to 6 best. Now you can import 20. I think Spark allows you, I don't know up to what, but you can import 20. You can come into TrueTracts and you could go to reconciliation. I don't recommend it, but you could have a grid here of 20 comps, and then as you pull some out, you just simply hit the delete button and you can remove the comp from your report. But I recommend filtering it down prior to importing those to Spark and into your report. I would say no more than 9 is probably best practice. Maybe if you're doing super complex, you might want to start with 12. So I hope that helps. If not, message us on our Facebook group and I'll give you a different answer if you give me more clarification.
All right, and then another question we have here is, why is the search perimeter for comps several miles wide? Is it simply to get enough data points and not necessarily comparable date locationally?
Yeah, so 95% of the time, I hope and pray you can find comps within your subject submarket. The goal here is to get at least 100 sales in this box over the last 5 years and have it be all green. So because what we're going to do with this data, this 268 sales, is this is what we use to train the model to then create this heat map. And if you only give it like 40 sales, it's not going to be able to learn enough to figure out how to predict these sale prices, and you're going to end up with some crazy colors. So the goal here is to get to enough properties, which we've determined to be about 100. Ideally, you have closer to 200 to 300, but if you get to 100, usually it's going to be able to figure out what's going on and create a reliable heat map for you.
All right, and then one more question. Can I filter by school district? That is very important in my market, says Sally.
No, but we did that on purpose. So we did add, under protest, the ability to see city boundaries and county boundaries. But when we built this first tab, we wanted the data to speak for itself. Appraisers always have preconceived notion about, I can't go outside of this city line, this county line, this census tract, this 1 mile radius, this school district. But this will pick it up. If there's a different school district that when you cross this boundary that's selling for more, it's going to pick that up. It's going to color it red. So I would let this challenge your notion about school district. And if down here is a different school district than this, I would argue that there is no difference in values down here in location. And I would use these as comps just as much as I would up here. And so we intentionally did not build school districts in because we want this to be completely data driven, not based on these boundaries that we think about. Why did you use those boundaries before? You used those boundaries before because you didn't have a tool to tell you what those differences were. So you're like, hey, I'll be safe if I stay in the school district. We don't need those artificial boundaries anymore because we're giving you real boundaries with real data that will help you make those decisions.
All right, thank you so much, Paul. That's going to bring us at time. If people have other questions for you, how can they best contact you?
The Facebook group, they can come on here. If they have tech support help, they can come down here, hit the question mark in the tool, TrueTracts.support@truefootage.tech.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. That's going to end our webinar for today, and a recording will be sent out later this afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you joining.
All right.